Elon Musk just made a major announcement yesterday. He was saying that actually Tesla has solved unsupervised autonomy, unsupervised FSD, and that he thinks that in 3 weeks, that's when that we will have no one else in the car in the Austin robo taxis. And then yesterday, he also came out and he said that Waymo, that in retrospect, Waymo will not be seen as a competitor to Tesla. So these are two pretty confident, definitive statements. And so I think today we're going to have a fun time just chatting about that. We got Nick Gibbs here from Investing Against the Grain. He looks like he's having a relaxing day somewhere in the fire pit. What happened to the fire? The fire was running there. Did it go out? Fireside chat, Nick.
Hey, sorry, go to Brian first. I'm listening to the rate cut right now.
Okay, rate cut.
Then I can tell you the fire has been extinguished. I assume you wanted me to talk on the same subject. So
yeah, talk on the same subject.
Yeah, no, this is we were pretty excited at the shareholder meeting about the things we heard about autonomy, but we heard some things that would naturally lead to some skepticism. This is a done deal. We're going to be without supervisors in the car by the end of the year. Well, it's almost the end of the year. Yesterday morning, I got up and I was very, very sad. I thought, oh, it's December. Why won't Elon tell us when that's actually going to be? And of course, my prayers were answered. Elon had a thing or two to say about it. What did he say about it, Herbert?
Let's listen. Let's watch it.
I assume that's a bullet. So unsupervised is pretty much sold at this point. So there will be Tesla robotaxis operating in Austin with no one in them, not even anyone in the passenger seat, in about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty much a solved problem. It just goes to validation right now, and that will be done with quite a small model. There's a model that's an order of magnitude larger that will probably be deployed in late January or February, and that so we'll achieve a safety level sufficient that there's no one in the car that can just drive around with the current model size, and then the order of magnitude greater model size that goes out in January or Feb. So it's just going to get even better, and then we're going to add reasoning, changeable reasoning, and a lot of RL. So the car's going to get several times better than a human at driving. It might get to 10x, but even with the AI4 hardware car. And we're close to completing the design of AI5, which will be, by some metrics, about 40 times better than AI4. But all things considered, probably at least 10 or 11 times better. And that's probably one direction of 27. And then AI6 will follow that very quickly. And then I think to get to serious scale, Tesla will probably need to build a gigantic chip out, like Tesla Terabat. To have like a few hundred gigawatts of AI chips per year, I don't see that capability coming online fast enough. So it's probably requires building a gigantic fab.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, guys, you guys believe what he's saying this time around? The unsupervised FSD is solved. And then he said that in 3 weeks, we're going to have no one in the car. He said that, something like that before also. But then he said large model in January, February. Then he started talking about AI5 in 2027 and AI6 in 2028. These things we already knew about. Thoughts on the things he said there?
Well, I would say that solved is you and I have a show coming up about this. What does solved mean? It means something different to different people. Uh, can it do everything everywhere every time? Maybe not, but doesn't need to. If there's a tricky intersection, it can just skip it. Waymo's approach to the blind left turn, or the unprotected left, I guess it's called, is to just take a bunch of rights instead. And that works too. Uh, you can, we've seen Tesla doing things that other cars can't. Jason Camisa shared on a podcast the other day how incredibly good it is. He said it took him into a parking lot that was too narrow, that was uncomfortably narrow and tight, and parked. It just parked, and we're here. This is where you wanted to go, right? Yeah. So it's the thing with timelines is the farther out in the future they are, the less believable they are to me, especially when it's something that's never been done before. But when you say something is a few weeks out, that means it's already internally sorted out. That means there's just a few lingering things they just need to double check for safety. But if all goes as expected, it's done. It's like when Ashok shares his timelines, he only goes out a few months because that's how far out he can see. And when Ashok makes a prediction, it's not a prediction, it's a projection based on the schedule, the calendar that he has in front of him. So this is, to me, very encouraging.
Hey, I'm back.
Okay. What did Powell do?
Yeah, so we're getting another quarter basis rate cut as expected. Huge descents in the SEP, so essentially the projections for the next quarter, on the dot plots on what people think are going to happen or what the different governors believe is going to happen. The most notable thing before obviously Powell starts speaking, we are going right into quantitative easing. They're going to be buying $40 billion in bills. And so like I'm sure Jerome Powell will try to spin this to be something else, but it's quantitative easing. So they're going right into QE. So that's extremely interesting. Was not expecting that. So I think you're going to have a lot of questions around that probably during the Fed speaking. But in other words, liquidity is getting pumped into the market again.
That's all good news. All good news. I mean, some of them might have already been expected. What's that?
We'll see.
We'll see.
The stock appears to have jumped 1% in the last couple minutes.
Yep.
Did it?
Imagine that's probably unrelated. That's probably because of something Gary Black said.
Yeah,
I
you're
tease
probably right.
Gary. I tease him.
But let's talk about more pressing things. You were asking Brian if we believe Elon, right? Essentially on his statements. And yeah, I think we talked about it last week where I think I distinguished it between robotaxi and self robotaxi, where we're at two different places. A robotaxi in an Uber type fashion, I believe, just as Elon said, I think it's done. I think it's complete. I think it's ready to go. But for the individual, like if you want to park in a garage, if you want to specifically park somewhere and you want to make sure that's not a handicap spot or that's not towaway zone or that, hey, it's 2-hour parking or a meter, right? I think all those things they still need to work on. Even the little things, like if I'm going to park somewhere there's a meter, the Tesla should be working, incorporating in the software with the different companies, like for us where I live, it's Park Mobile, right? They should have a interface with those so that it can automatically tag into my credit card, right? All those nice little experiences. So I think to be fully complete and actually say it's done for the individual, I think we're just right there. We got some tweaks to do. But for robotaxi, as far as I can tell, the car does it every single day. Point to point, no problems, no issues. So yeah. I think he's accurate.
Yeah. So normally I wouldn't believe everything that Elon says. He's often mistaken in terms of time and so forth, and he's very optimistic. But when he says FSE solved, I am driving FSE and it's driving me for the last 7 months. And when I see it, it's in my mind, it's solved because I have not had a critical disengagement for 7 months straight, and I've driven it to Canada, Portland, Vancouver, Seattle, all over the place. Every night, every day, we go to some restaurant, it goes there and back, no critical disengagements. So if it can do that in all of these states, and then it's doing it in California, and it's doing it in Austin, and it's doing it in your state, Nick, and your well, we just happen to live in the same state, Brian. And all of our friends are in different countries, even. Yeah. So here's the thing, right? The stats from both Waymo and Tesla, they've had enough data points to show that it is safer than a human now. There's no longer a debate whether it's safer than a human. The question is these little tiny things, like can it park properly in those kind of scenarios, whether or not you would call it solved. For me, solved refers to safety versus human driving. And the last pieces of, does it do the parking garage, or does it park properly? And little things like speed. I wish it was 5 miles slower. If you just adjust, and I don't want to move my thumb to make it go slower. I wish it knew to do those things. Those are not concerns whether or not this thing is solved or not. What's solved is it safer driving than a human?
I think can I push back on that?
Well, I mean, yes, actually, like you say, I've done 4 rides. I've done another 5 rides, 10 rides in total, and it's been perfect. And I've not heard of anybody who's been doing robotaxi rides in Austin having an issue. So
yeah,
Nick's going to push back. Let's go.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, I don't know if I would. I want to strengthen what you're trying to say, rather than just leaving an open door for criticism. But you can't. I don't think that you want to say that it's just a safety thing. Is it safer or not? Because it can be safer, but be extremely jerky and an unpleasant ride, and everyone gets car sick. Well, that wouldn't be considered solved, would it?
Sure, it is.
I'm with Nick on this one.
Solved? No, I don't think. No one
sure
would
it
use
is.
If no one's gonna, yeah, okay. Well, 2-1. You've been outvoted. Herbert, you've been eliminated.
You may put out your flame.
Is the car driving itself? Is it safer than a human?
Well, but that's the thing.
But the car should be like
human,
it should drive as good as a best driver in the world. It's like it's
I'm going to push back
self-driving works.
I'm going to push back on the
safety. We already know
one.
though that the car is actually very comfortable to drive in. So that's not. It's like we're talking about the final bits of comfort, not that it's like so jerky, and because it's not doing that. So
where's the safety stats that says unsupervised is safer than a human?
So first of all, yeah, Waymo has released all of their data, and that has been very clear now that it is safer than a human. Tesla has said that their data is 7 times safer than a human, and so we're waiting
on supervised or unsupervised.
Well, supervised FSD, yeah,
right.
But you and I know
a different product.
It is absolutely a different product. So there's this question of whether or not you believe Elon when he says that unsupervised FSD is solved, then that means you're believing that he's saying that unsupervised FSD is safer than a human now, much safer than a human, not just safer. And I'm saying I believe that without the actual data, because you and I are driving it ourselves, and we know that that's the case. That is safer than when I drive by myself. And then that these guys have the data. They already have the data. They will release it, and they're going to get approval because of it. So that's whether or not you believe it or not, but one day they will, and I'm not doubting it anymore.
So yesterday it tried to turn the wrong direction on a one-way street. That I would call a critical disengagement. So while that's the kind of mistake I could see a 16-year-old doing, a new driver of any age doing, and there were no cars around. It's not like there was head-on traffic that maybe it would have gotten out there and immediately realized its mistake and corrected it, but I wasn't going to find out. So I would say that.
Well, we're not saying again that it is solved in every country and every street that you decide to take it on. It is solved in any state that they want to say that they can do it for sure, that they've already made sure that there's no going to be, that's a one-way street, that we've got to make sure we don't make that mistake. But that's the thing, is that you and I are driving it in all of us are driving in multiple states in multiple countries, and everybody's freaking out because they can see that it's pretty well close to solved, meaning it's already safer than them driving in that city. Now, will it make a mistake like that? And they won't do that until they won't release it there, and they won't call it unsupervised, and they won't call it robotaxi until they've got that figured out.
Can I just say two things real quick? I don't mean to play a game of semantics here, but I do think there's a difference between solved and 7-10x times safer than a human. I don't think those are equal. And I would say, like Brian's situation, like I fully believe that happened, but I also literally last week had someone going down a one-way straight into me, and luckily the Tesla like stopped, and I'm like, hey, wrong way, like clearly new to the area, just didn't know. But that's a very human mistake to do. So I do think,
and that's what the cars are trained on.
Yeah. So exactly. So I still think those things will happen, and that doesn't mean that it's not solved ready for robotaxi. I would say like it's going to happen if humans do that, they do that.
It's about the stats, right? Like, is it safer than a human? Is it 10 times safer?
I guess I'm just saying, like,
still make
anecdotes are still going to
mistakes.
exist.
You still will have accidents, but do you want 440,000 deaths per year, or do you want 5,000 deaths per year?
Yeah, I'm just
And
trying
when
to
you call it
choose.
safe, do you call it only solved if it's 0 deaths, 100% 0 deaths, or is it less deaths?
Yeah. Anyways,
I didn't know
I'm
I
excited.
had that power.
I'm no,
excited.
you're talking about right now.
Think, I do think that I believe that in the next 3 to 6 weeks that they are going to take out the driver. I do think that they're going to expand to new cities. I think they're right there. I think really what they're working on is like what they said in the earnings call, just the software behind the software, right? The logistics, essentially the Uber piece of it, right? Where Uber has, where should we pick people up? Where's a safer spot to pick someone up? Where should we drop people off? I know, okay, this 3-lane highway, we don't want to drop someone at that. Let's just pull into this parking lot, and do there. Even if the person has to walk a little bit, it's worth it. It's just a better spot. Like those little things. The flow of congestion and not, is there a concert or is there no concert? Is it 3 a.m.? How many vehicles do we want out there versus like a concert's getting out right away? What do we want there? Where do we position during those events? I think that's the kind of thing they're working on at this point. The software behind the software.
Yeah.
I think it's all very exciting. I think the demos we've seen in Europe are the most exciting piece of the puzzle. And despite there having been hundreds, thousands of rides already, I think there was over 700 just in Australia when they did their 3-day demo. Yeah. So I imagine that we're looking at worldwide thousands of FSD drives now. The one thing I have not heard from any of those riders is of a single disengagement, which is so upsetting that Nick can't be here for it.
He disengaged.
He disengaged. But that wasn't safety critical. Actually, he can tell us when he gets back. But I have not heard in the comments. Maybe you guys have heard of someone in one of those European test drives, Australian test drives, of having had a disengagement, but I have not. And that to me is huge. The word is getting out. These people will tell their friends. They're already telling the news. They're already on social media talking about it, bragging about it. And it means that the psychological tide I see has shifted.
Yeah. I see some people make comments and they'll say, oh, the car drove 10 miles over the speed limit. Or I just saw one here. Somebody goes, oh, I'd still disengage because when it gets near the exit of the highway, it takes its time before it gets in there. Okay, well, what setting are you on? If you put it on chill, it will hug the right side and it will take its time and it's not going to try to do these kinds of things. You got to put in the right setting.
Yeah, I get annoyed when I hear
that to me is not a disengagement. That's not a critical
taste.
Disengagement. Yeah.
Yes.
Style. I get it. I drive differently than my son. I drive differently than you. If you and I were in a full meat driven car, I'm sure we would look at each other's driving styles and go, That's not how I'd do it. Now, I wouldn't reach over and disengage. I think that would be hilarious and dangerous. But just, I did see someone in the comments of one of my videos say, no, it needs to drive the way I drive. And I say, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. If it's going to copy every individual driving style, and let's say it probably could with enough compute, what we're going to get is a bunch of bad drivers. I want fewer bad drivers. New York Times published a study this week showing that if just 30 to 40% of cars were automated, it could reduce traffic deaths to almost zero, because not everyone has to. We just got to get enough people into the safety zone for the rest of traffic to follow. And especially when you consider, and I've said this before, too many people look at the worst that self-driving does and compare it to their own best driving. And that's the wrong metric. I compare self-driving to my worst driving, my most tired, my most distracted, my most mentally checked out driving, whatever that may be. And I say, I've had times when I get back from the airport and I'm in the car and I'm thinking, why isn't it changing lanes? And it's because there's someone in my blind spot that I didn't see. That's good, because I would have changed lanes. And that's the safety I appreciate.
Well, yeah. So let's play this game. We did it last time. Okay, Nick and Brian, you guys are now the head. I've appointed you the head of regulation for all of driving rules, and you can make any decision you want. What would you do?
First of all, Taco Tuesday. So let's get that out there.
Because I'll stick my head out. If I was in charge right today with FSD version 14.2.1, I would roll it out to every car, and I would make every car do it now. I would approve it right now. I would say FSD solved. Why? Because once in a while it will go into the wrong lane, like you said, Brian. Yes, once in a while it will take the wrong thing, but at the end of the day, it is safer than human, and
Absolutely.
it's going to it will cut deaths. And as far as I'm concerned, even if it's I don't know, let's say there's 440,000 deaths last year, if it was 10,000 deaths less, I would turn it on now. Now others will say nope. Even one death is you do not turn this on. And I'm telling you, you have blood in your hands. If you're a journalist writing articles, if you don't say that this is something that we should be working on, pushing forward instead of stopping it, you have blood in your hands today, because it's proven. Both Waymo and Tesla have proven that it's safer than human.
Let's take it back one half step from there. Why is should we allow cars to have automatic emergency braking? I didn't tell the car to brake. Right. Yeah. So first of all, yes, you should allow automatic emergency braking. Is it going to have false positives? Sometimes, maybe, but it's safer. Or did you get all bent out of shape when anti-lock braking became a thing? My stepdad's 94 Dodge Ram had anti-lock brakes, and I guarantee you I could stop in less distance than that truck. Should they have not approved it? No, it was still safer. It just wasn't as safe as I would have liked it to be. It was an early system. It immediately got better. Within a few years, it was a great system. And in today's technology, they would have updated it over the air to make it even better. But this is just, it's safety is safety. And you say, if it's just 10,000, I say if it's just 10. If we can save any lives, these are real lives. These are real people. I know they look like numbers on a spreadsheet.
So you would, as commissioner,
as global driving commissioner, I would say, approve it. Approve it. If you're going to approve all these other safety features, this is a safety feature. There is no data that says it is more dangerous to operate with FSD. So yeah, approve it. That's me.
Who am I in this situation?
I don't know.
I think you're still Nick, but now you're on fire.
Or am I?
No, I think you're the regulatory body who determines whether or not FSD is legal in your market.
Well, I think FSD's, at least in the States, it's legal everywhere.
Not FSD. Right? I'm saying unsupervised. I'm saying
supervised.
What are you saying?
Much of the world doesn't have FSD.
Would you allow autonomous cars to exist, unsupervised. Yeah.
So yeah, so that's where I wouldn't do what you're talking about with unsupervised. I would slowly phase it in. I wouldn't just say, "Yep, go," because we don't have that kind of data at that scale for unsupervised. So I think you have to go say
that part's true.
Austin,
Yeah.
Dallas, Austin,
Yeah.
Dallas, San Antonio,
Yeah.
Austin, Dallas, San Antonio suburbs in that area,
Right.
San Fran, Palo Alto, Palo Alto suburbs between, San Fran, Palo Alto, LA suburbs between, right? Like you want to,
Yep.
like, I want it to be like a virus expanding.
Yep.
I don't want it to just boom all at once, because with Tesla you kind of could, in a sense, just say, yeah, go put your car in, and then Tesla also has to still have the infrastructure,
and all
right?
that. Yeah. So just to be clear, yeah, I'm not saying every car today should be doing it. I'm saying do not stop it. Do not stop the regulation. You should approve city by city and make it move, like you said, test it out and make it happen. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to go back, if you don't mind, to what you're talking before. And I think people get lost in the weeds, or at least that's my generous interpretation. It might just be that people are being intellectually dishonest with themselves and with everyone else. But when you sit there and you say, well, it's not ready, it's going 5 miles over the speed limit, or I don't like how it drives, all that. The reason I say it's intellectually dishonest at worst, in the worst case, and just, lack of understanding, best case, is that you don't actually use that metric whenever you get into an Uber and a taxi. You don't even use that metric if Brian's driving, I'm in the passenger seat. At no point are you looking at what the speed limit is he going. At no point am I sitting, like, I might in my head be like, oh, I'm surprised he took that turn instead of the next one. You might have a little critiques like that. You might say, like, yeah, I guess this is fine to drop me off here, right? And it's like, you're not gonna be like, well, actually, no, go up here and take a right and drop me off there. Like, normally you don't. It's like Uber will say, is this good here? And you'll be like, yeah, sure, good enough. I'll just be quick. So you're not using the same standard, I don't think. And so that's why, to me, there are two different pictures. There's a picture of FSD unsupervised, where you're still in the vehicle and it's your own personal vehicle and you're going from point A to point B, and then a robotaxi. Those are two different things, in my opinion. And for robotaxi, to me, it's ready to go. It's just, is Tesla ready to go is the bigger question. So I just want to make a clear distinction that, like, and even then, the speed limit in a world of autonomy, it becomes a relic of an idea when you think about speed limits. You know what I mean? Like, these are so, like, what is it? Like, there's like some tests about how we got to like a 70-mile-an-hour speed limit. And it was like someone was blindfolded in a car where there's no windows or anything, and they were going down. They're like, oh, does this feel uncomfortable, or how's this feel? And that's how they decided on some of these speed limits. And so I might be butchering the whole story. It's actually kind of a funny story. But my point is, speed limits are a concept for meat drivers, not for autonomous vehicles. So I don't know. I don't think that, like, when we're talking about those things, I feel like we're just not even having the proper conversations, and it's like the most irrelevant topic to have at this point.
I think you just said something very important, which is, of all the times I've been in an Uber, I don't remember ever looking at the speed that the driver was going. Certainly I would look at the flow of traffic and notice that the driver was following the flow of traffic. Sometimes the driver would be a little faster or a little slower than I would go, but I'm not the one driving, so I don't care. And I will tell you that on my street, if it's dark and it's raining, it doesn't matter what mode you're in, the car will go almost exactly the speed limit, maybe 2 over, because my street is very quiet, and if the weather is bad, it drives in the way I would hope that it would.
Yeah.
Plenty of people haul down my street way too fast. But I think 27 and a 25 when it's rainy and dark and pedestrians are around is the appropriate speed. And if I'm not behind the wheel, I'm not the one getting the ticket. It's not safety I'm worried about with my speed. It's a ticket that I'm worried about. So
Yeah.
I
By the
think
way, I think
you're right on that.
Tesla pointed out a long time ago that why do you get tickets? Police give you tickets not because of safety. They do tickets because it's easier. It's the thing that they can measure. They can measure how fast you're driving, and so they'll give you a ticket if you're above or below the speed limit, and then they'll give you a ticket if you don't stop at a stop sign. Those are not necessarily the things that show you statistically that causes the most accidents. Speed does cause more death on highways, but specifically speed around curved when you're taking turns. And so that's where Tesla was able to know exactly what causes more accidents and more deaths. And that's what matters. So that's, speed by itself is not necessarily a bad thing. It's speed in certain contexts. And that's why they can actually, know if you're a good driver or not. Like, are you more likely to cause accidents? And it's not always like, if you decide to do a rolling stop when there's no one there, that does not cause accidents.
Well, yeah, I think tickets are give it's the stick, right? The carrot is, hey, drive safe and you'll be safe, but you need a stick for people who choose not to. And so when you speed, hey, here's a penalty. If a society with no consequences or actions without any consequences can lead to chaos. And so I think it's the antidote to the chaos.
Of course, there should be penalties, but there should be penalties on the things that are more likely to cause an accident, not just something that because you can measure it. That was the revelation, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
that's the reason why they chose those things. Not that they are the ones that cause accidents.
But it's because the law, you have to ground it in something, right? If I say you were driving recklessly, well, what does that mean?
What does that mean? Right.
That means 20 miles or over. That's what it means.
The new software systems know what reckless means because they know what exactly your behavior that truly causes more accidents versus not. Right.
It's also braking traction. If you do a burnout at a stoplight because you want to go quick, my car don't do burnouts. There are settings in some electric cars that will allow them to do the most beautiful and amazing burnouts. But I don't feel like donating my income to Goodyear. I mean, I think all those drift modes should be sponsored by Michelin because they're the real winners.
They actually should. That's actually brilliant.
They should. Hey, Elon, can you put drift on all cars? We'll pay you a bunch of money.
The second thing that Elon announced just this morning, he kind of like was in conversation with Waymo, and he said, Waymo's not a real competition, and that will be clear in hindsight. This is how the conversation started. Jeff Dean, who works at Waymo, posted that their data. They basically said Waymo system, fueled by a careful collection of large volume of fully autonomous data, is the most advanced large-scale application of embodied AI today. So he's making the claim that we are the most advanced embodied AI today. And he showed that they are actually using a foundation model. They've moved to this neural net model, input in, output out, and but they still are using LiDAR. And so that's hey, they're copying Tesla, and they're now moving in this direction. This guy asked, I would be interested to see your arguments compared to Tesla, who also claim to be the most advanced large-scale application of embodied AI. And Jeff replied with stats, says, I don't think Tesla has anywhere near the volume of rider-only autonomous miles. That's true. Rider-only, because Tesla doesn't do that yet. Autonomous miles. Oh, rider-only, meaning that no drivers, right? Just having somebody. Autonomous miles of Waymo has 96 million, and then he shared his safety statistics. So I think he's right here. But Elon said Waymo never really had a chance against Tesla. This will be obvious in hindsight. So those people out there who thinks that Waymo's a major, not only are a competitor, but they're so far ahead because they're already in 5 cities, expanding to 10 cities next year. Here's Elon saying they actually never had a chance against Tesla. This is going to be obvious.
So I got to ask a question here. Nick, you know a bit about computers and AI. Is it embodied AI only if there's no one in the car? Because that doesn't make any sense. Embodied AI to me means AI in a physical object in the real world. And if you want to add to that it has to be monetized, I've got, what is it? 20% of the market that is now monetized on FSD, whether they purchased it outright or pay for it on a monthly basis. that is an ocean of revenue performing AI tasks every day. Am I missing something, Nick? Because you seem to know the computer pretty well.
No, yeah, I think that's a good point, Brian. I think the scarier thing here is, can you go back a slide? Is that possible for you, Herbert, or go back to that previous post?
It's not possible, Nick.
It's not possible.
No.
Well, you simply make the
It's
impossible
very
happen.
difficult.
Oh, okay.
But he did do
Now,
it late.
Go to the stats.
This is which stats are you talking about? This one?
There.
Yeah.
So he, this is going to be something that's going to come back to bite them. And I'm trying not to cuss. It's going to come back to bite them, because they're putting out these stats, right? Like 96 million for Waymo as of today, 91%, 79%, 80%. You see all these, but when Tesla decides, and it sounds like it's going to be in 3 weeks, to actually start going unsupervised, and that start, like, I would imagine, say come March, they will be largely unsupervised in Austin. Hopefully they're unsupervised in California as well. It might be in other cities. Tesla's going to be able to get to those numbers and surpass them so quickly, because they're not only, if for no other reason, they can drop the price, whereas Waymo probably can't. And then what happens? Then what legs do you have to stand on? Because this is the metric that you said was important, and here Tesla just did that in a week, potentially. So it shocks me that Waymo keeps putting out a lot of this data, because if I was marketing at Tesla or any of the ones who do the social media, I would literally just wait till June, July, and I would have all those screenshots. And I would say, hey, look at this, look at this, look at this. We just did that in a week. And it took them all these years to do this. We've seen that with just look at the miles, right? That Tesla's drive right now, and to Brian's point, right? With Tesla's embodied AI. Look at how long it takes Waymo just to do what Tesla does in a day, in a week. They've never done what I don't think they've ever done what Tesla's done in a year, in the entire lifetime of Waymo. So it's dangerous for them from a bragging perspective. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But again, I think we're all getting caught up on, maybe not Tesla, but even Elon a little bit, kind of puffing chest out a little bit right now, and saying a lot of these comments. The other day, I think he said 2,000 something, those are rookie numbers, and now this post, and it's like, Elon, would love for you to say that and then back it up right away, rather than having a lot of time in between. But I do think this time next year, it'll be very apparent those were rookie numbers. This time next year, I think it'll be very apparent that those Waymo numbers are nothing compared to what Tesla's going to be doing. And maybe I'll be wrong, but I do think when we are here this time next year, it's going to be just very clear who the leader is. But I do have to give Waymo credit. They are,
Yeah, thank them.
They have moved way faster than what they were a year ago. Way faster. They are going city to city. They're now they're about to start in airports. They're on the highway now. Like, you got to give them some credit.
It's almost like someone lit a fire under them, isn't it? Waymo,
Fire?
Nick, you gotta recognize, though, Waymo could be releasing another 1,000 to 2,000 cars next year.
I know.
Do you know how long it would take Tesla to build that many? Forget cybercabs, because that's a whole different beast. Just robo-taxis on the Model Y platform. Tesla, it would take them like a day and a half.
They better get to work.
Well, and that's the thing, is they don't even have to get to work. You don't even have to add an extra shift. You would just, you could probably eke that out of the current schedule without anyone even going into overtime.
I mean, you could just pull that out of the network,
That's the other thing is, and I mentioned this on a show with Herbert that's coming up soon, but the robo-taxi has that little comms box in the back window for better communication. Yes, but that's an attachment. Just if that's required to put my car into the network, wouldn't I just go into the service center and have them pop it in? because there now we've got not and Waymo's saying, yeah, but we're going to have thousands and we could have 10,000 cars before you know it. Right. But Tesla could have millions tomorrow. And if not tomorrow, certainly by the end of next month. I just don't know how you compete with that.
Yeah, and I do think that's what will happen. Like when Elon says we're gonna have hundreds of thousands of robo taxis, by 2026 or in 2026, I kind of do believe it as long as he allows us to be able to put our vehicles in. Like it's very feasible, and you have to imagine you just let everyone in Austin put their vehicles in. Whoever wants to go for it. It would drive the cost down per mile so low, it would be ridiculous.
And the availability would be almost infinite.
Yeah.
And not with cars on the road, just like I go and order one and my neighbor 3 doors down, his car just turns on and comes on over. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think if Elon says something, it's one thing, but if Ashok Swami himself says something, that's another thing. And so Ashok has said, he also weighed in on whether or not Tesla customers can put their cars into the robo-taxi network. He said, we're working on having to certify the cars. We have to think about that, right? So if Brian wants to put his car into the robo-taxi network, if I do, Tesla needs to certify our cars to make sure the tires are, they can do it over the air sometimes, but make sure the tires are not,
bald.
They've got some tread, they're not bald, and things like that, just to make sure the car is safe. And then, like as Brian said, if they need to have better communication with the network system, then they'll put this thing on top, but it costs them, it's probably minutes at the service center to attach it, and you're done. And then he also said that Hardware 3 cars is going to be part of robotaxi. That was the key thing. It wasn't just Hardware 3 cars will be able to have FSD 14 in it. That's one thing. He believes that Hardware 3 cars will be able to be used in robotaxi, which means both, right? That it's good enough to be able to be safer than a human, but also that it's going to be part of robotaxi. They will allow the cars that people own, because they're not making Hardware 3 cars anymore, to be put into the network. So this idea that could customers put their cars in and make money seems like it's still the plan that Tesla has. So those are the two big announcements. And then on Monday, the other thing that Tesla did was they released the robotaxi app to 11 countries. Why would they do that?
They just really like releasing apps in countries. It's just fun. It's their hobby. And why 11? If it was going global, I could understand. Just, we just put it on the world market. It's just, it's like when you see an ad for a restaurant chain that doesn't exist in your market, you're like, why are they spending this money? It's easier to just do a national campaign than, target all the individual markets. But 11, that's a weird choice. It's almost like these are the aspirational places they wish to be, or plan to be, or hope to be. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I would say there's a chance that it's just strategic, just to see how certain, like, I don't know. I'm just guessing. Obviously, we all know what the most bull optimistic thing is. Like, oh, they're about to launch and start doing things with robotaxi in those countries. That's possible, sure. But I would say most conservative would be those are different countries or regions of the world that have different app stores or infrastructure for getting apps onto your phones, different requirements, different regulations, and they're just trying to test all those out. And so that's why it says 11. So I don't know if there's anything like that or something else on the back end, or those are going to be countries that are like the command station for taxis. So they're just trying to. I have no idea, but it could just be them trying to test some stuff. So I don't want to get too high. I don't want to get too low, but it's hard not to be excited about seeing all of these drip of information on the expansion of robotaxi. And I feel like it feels like we're just sitting there building up to a moment where it's like, boom, a really big series of announcements is what it feels like. But It's like this steady drip.
Well, to be clear, Tesla's been behind, right? You did a post, Nick, and you said sarcastically, you said, "Oh,
tell me what I
yeah."
said.
I guess you were very sarcastic. I think I read it that way, and you go, "Tesla's going to be launching 8 more cities in 2 weeks," because Elon had said they're going to be in 8 to 10 cities by the end of this year, and you're like, "Okay, well, you got 2 weeks, basically 3 weeks, right?"
I mean, I honestly wouldn't mean sarcastic. That was just saying back what he said.
You actually believe it, because I thought that was sarcastic. Okay.
I mean, it's not that I believe. I hope it.
Well, we've got Austin.
Hope it.
We've got Austin, Pflugerville, Del Valley. I mean, if we want to count the suburbs as cities, I think we're already there.
Yeah, no. Okay. Somebody was asking this, Nick. They can't even do an Android version yet, and yet they're launching the iPhone app everywhere. A lot of people who have Android are concerned why they don't have RoboTaxi with Android. But I heard somebody else say, well, it's because it's owned by Google and they don't want to necessarily share some data. What do you think about that?
No. Google owns part of Waymo, not all of Waymo. And I wouldn't say can't. I would say they just haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
can't is the wrong word. I have a Tesla Android app. I have an X Android app. I have a Grok Android app. They can do these things. They don't need to yet. There's not a shortage of passengers waiting for rides. There's a shortage of rides waiting for passengers. It'll come. And they did have a recent job posting for an Android developer. And my first thought is, oh my gosh, they're going to build Androids. No, wait, never mind. I get it. But I did enjoy the footage of the Optimus operator taking off his headset without putting it in standby mode. That was hilarious.
Let's talk about that. I mean, I can go search for that, but
yeah. So what happened is they're at the big FSD event in Miami. They've got Optimus there handing out water bottles, remotely operated. And I assume what you do when you're done operating, when your shift is done, someone else is going to come in, is you put it in standby, take off your VR goggles, hand them over, and the next person is running Optimus. But they didn't put it in standby. So Optimus just invisibly grabs his invisible VR goggles, whips them off, and nighty-night, out of the frame. Hilarious. It was a lot of fun to see. If we can get that up, it'll be even more fun. But and then of course you have some people saying, oh, this is proof that it's not automated, and everyone else saying, you needed proof. I thought it was pretty clear that it was not.
Here it is. Let's watch it. Let me play it again. So this is Optimus at the Miami event, and he was handing out bottles of water. And then this happened. Clearly, you can see that it looked like that it was taken off a headset, and these are teleoperated. And so some people are going, oh my God, it's proof. They were lying to us. They were lying to us.
Yes.
I don't know why. I guess it is a fault of Tesla to mislead people to think that the popcorn, every time you see an Optimus, that is not being teleoperated.
I actually don't think that is being teleoperated.
The popcorn?
Yeah.
I think it is.
Dude, of course it is.
I think it's hard coded.
No. That when it does this and it does all these
You don't know
things.
that.
We don't, but we have
You're just saying no, but you say no as if it's a fact. You're like, no, you're wrong. No, that's what I think.
Yeah, I know that here. Well, here's an example right here. It's pretty clear at this point that was teleoperated.
No, that's different. That's different than doing
handing
the same
water bottles. So let's
You're not listening to what I'm saying. You're just speaking over me. That's different than the popcorn. It's different than giving the popcorn at the burger joint, or they're just giving the same thing over and over. I don't think
that's not what happens, Nick, at the popcorn place. The human comes in and hands them a container. It grabs it. It even readjusts it. Then it puts it in, and it'll interact with you. It'll, make jokes, and it'll do things.
I know.
Like that.
I don't think that's a human doing that. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Here's what we know. We know that Tesla, at the 1010 event, they were teleoperating. That was a fact. They announced that that was true. But then they showed a video and they said this is 100% automated, where you did have Optimus handing out water bottles, and they showed that that is capable of doing that. There was a lineup of people walking up, and then it was handing it out. So they proved that it can be done autonomously. So to say, yeah, you don't know for a fact that they're not autonomous, sure. But this one here in Miami, clearly, that was this guy take off his headset and it falls. So for people to say, hey, you deceived me, number one, I think that that's okay. You thought it was. I would lean on assuming that it's not. And then B, this whole thing about that means that Tesla Optimus is really behind, and they're just smoke and mirrors, and they have nothing. Which
that's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
That part is definitely ridiculous. And also, I think these were 2.0 bots we saw in Miami. They're not even the 2.5s, and 3 is what we're going to be seeing before too long. 3 is one that's likely a release candidate. This is not, to me, in any way. I get it. Some people think that movies, like documentaries, shouldn't use reenactments. Oh, right, but sometimes you gotta. You just got to make sure it's clear which part is real and fiction. At We Robot, we know there were parts that were teleoperated because the robots disclosed as much. And we know there were parts that were routines, like because the dancing, you can hold it up side by side versus other dancing it's done. That's clearly a routine, a macro that they can just tell it to do, go into dance mode. It'd be hilarious if the people backstage had to be doing all the dancing exactly the same each time. It costs a little extra to get those operators. But I'm not worried about any of that stuff. The hardware is good. The brain looks good. The Optimus University is being built right now in Cortex 2 in Austin. It's going to be able to train all kinds of tasks. And anybody getting bent out of shape over this early in the game, I think, is misunderstanding the entire mission and objective. I will mention we're at 52 minutes in just about 8 minutes. Sometimes it goes over. That's fine too. I will be doing the after show where I answer all your cues from this show, give you the A's that you need, and see how that goes. If you're on my channel or Herbert's channel, it should automatically redirect unless it's on the replay, in which case go to Future Asa on YouTube. You'll find it listed there. Nick, a pleasure chatting with you as always. Enjoy your fuego, and I'll see you guys next time.
Cheers.
All right, Nick Gibbs. The other thing that happened is President Trump announced a unified one rule for them all, referring to AI, that he's going to sign an executive order sometime this week to do that. David Sachs, who's the AI czar for the U.S. government, explained what that is. And some of us are wondering, does that apply, because it's AI in general, just to LLMs? Or does that apply to federal framework for autonomous driving and maybe even a federal framework for robot development in the U.S.? What's your take on it?
I think it's pretty clear that the scope of that has to do with things, AI that's related to LLM specifically. There are two different domains, right? The autonomous vehicles, that falls under the DOT, not necessarily under the purview of the AI czar or any legislation from that. They're just two different buckets. But I think the spirit of the one rule is the same spirit that Duffy has talked about. We don't want to have all these. It's even worse for autonomy, because there could be a world where, or I think there is kind of an attempt where it's not just state by state, but city by city, and that's ridiculous. So for autonomy, you have to have a national framework, not a city by city, state by state. So, and Duffy's talked about that way before we started talking about we need to have a federal level AI, set of rules that everyone abides by. It was that first phrasing came with the idea of autonomy. So I don't think what they're talking about right now has anything to do with autonomy. but I think the spirit and the logic behind it is coming is was inspired from the conversations about autonomy. So while I don't think that's what it's about, I do think it's the same thing. Pull
I
from.
agree with that. And the other thing that's in the same spirit is competitiveness. So they did say, David Zach said that, this AI one rule has the 4 C's, which are associated with LMs, like child safety, community, or something like that. And that each of the states will still have their ability to weigh on those 4 C's. But the 5th C, he said, which is even more important, is competitiveness. The reason they're doing this is you can't let other countries, let's say China, have advancements in AI and the US falls behind. We need to do this for competitiveness reasons. And the same thing he said for self-driving. And I'm sure the same thing applies to robots. And so that is a good news. That means that if they are moving forward with as a federal framework for AI, and then just last week, they did announce that now that they've done a lot of work with AI, they're now going to focus on robots next year. So this is very good news for Tesla. It means that, it looks like that the government is going to move forward with, a federal framework for autonomy and a federal framework for robots. That is clearly the path that's headed at this point.
Yeah. It's good. I tend to be someone, I think that doesn't like government intervention in things. But this is an example where I think government is intervening in a good way, which is to keep politics almost out of it. I think if you start doing things at a state level or a city level, Texas might do something different than California. Austin might do something different than Houston. And you want to keep politics out of this. I think the lens of competitiveness is the right way to go. But you do need some regulation, right? You still want to keep things safe and above board, and you want to make sure people aren't cutting corners just for the sake of competition. But we, at the end, they want to, if you look at it as a team, you want to make sure that, people aren't necessarily taking steroids and everyone's, on the same playing field when it comes to that. But at the same time, let the players play. Don't over referee the game. Otherwise, it just becomes no fun and the players don't get a chance to actually compete. And so I would say let our companies, which are the players in this analogy, let them cook, let them run, let them do their thing. And we want to keep regulation because we want to keep the game fair and keep things above board. But we also don't want, the regulation or the referees interrupting the game every 2 seconds. And then there's no flow or true progress.
It's happening with every sport right now. It's frustrating for me.
I know.
Isn't it great though? So a year ago, the biggest concern that everybody had was, does FSD work? Does autonomy work? Can it actually be safer than human? Well, but regulation is going to be the biggest problem, never in my lifetime, because regulation will just be hell. No one will allow this to happen. And then the consumers won't ever get into a self-driving car. They're going to hate it. They're going to take jobs. But knock on wood, so far, all 3, as of today, seem to have moved forward significantly, right? We talked about how, Elon claims FSD is solved, but Waymo is showing that they are safer than human already with their actual data in the 4 or 5 states they're in, the 5 cities that are in.
Can I just add something there? So there is a nuance there that, I think people just kind of broad stroke over. Waymo showed their safety data, and I believe their data is accurate. I believe they are as safe as they say. But we can't make that. It's apples and oranges. It's not the same as Tesla, because Tesla is operating in a essentially unlimited defined geospace, whereas Waymo's statistics are only accurate in their current geofence where they're at. Whereas Tesla can have those stats that they've shared with us are reflective of the entire continental United States. So that's a huge difference.
Huge. I mean, we know that Waymo would pull off cars. They would not allow them in the network if it's pouring rain or something like that. They would be very careful, and rightly they should be. But yes, I'm not saying that we're not comparing at this point, but just stats are coming out to show that the technology for autonomy is gotten to the point where it's as safe as a human and only going to get better from here. You got regulation. It is still a major concern, not something to just brush by and say it's done. I'm not saying it's done, but look at it, right? We've got how many states has Waymo announced that they've got approval for it, right? 5 cities plus another 5, another 14 coming next month, next year. So these are movements in US. Then you've got Europe is not budged, but there's a lot of movement there in terms of people test driving it. So we don't know if they're going to do it. But China surprised everybody where they've allowed FSD. They're supporting autonomous driving. They've got lots of companies that are doing it, and they're all on board supporting that industry. And then you've got FSD approved now in I've lost count, 13 countries. Like it's in South Korea, it's in Australia. It's and then we've got data showing now that Waymo usage, Uber announced this, that Waymo, in the cities that they have Waymo usage is much higher than higher than Uber, and they're paying more. And so in that case, like people prefer to take a self-driving car than not. And so this idea that I'll never, people will be too afraid, or that concerns about the ride comfort, that doesn't seem to be playing out at this point. Consumers seem to be like, now there are stories of people, protesting and they'll put cars on fire and those kind of things for these robotaxis. So I don't know yet how consumers.
I think that'll stop.
Yeah,
I think that'll stop because if it were me, and if I was Waymo in this case, who's happened to, I would make sure that anyone who's attacking the car, that we save their picture, and then anyone who signs up to use the Waymo app, we will cross-reference, and you're banned for life.
Yeah.
Or you can pay a fine. But we've tagged you. We see your face. We list that. Maybe you haven't applied to use Waymo yet, but one day you will. Or one day you will test a road taxi, and do you really want to be banned for life?
Can you imagine? Like there's Tesla says Grok in it now, and now they're about to release a new feature where you can use Grok to actually tell you navigate.
Did you get the holiday update yet?
Not yet. A holiday update I'm checking because I'm hearing people are downloading the holiday update. So you have this new feature. You can use Grok to actually set up your navigation just using your words and say, take me here, here, and here. So eventually these cars will, like you say, know you, right? Yeah. Hey, Nick, welcome, as a robotaxi, and it'll call you by name. It already knows you, right? Because it has your name and up, but it actually knows you. Like it's an LLM. It knows all your history. Yeah. And then what if it says, Nick, you kind of scratched my brother there back in Houston. You were a bad boy, so you're, what I mean? The car can refuse.
Talking dirty to me? What is this? You've been a bad boy, Nick.
You're being a bad boy, Nick.
You scratched my rear. What is this conversation devolving to?
The car is alive. It'll have some sort of sentience and some sort of personality, and then they'll like, nope, not gonna let you ever get my car again, Nick. So,
no, I'm excited for this new update because honestly, the current version of Grok is painful. It's not good in there. Look, when we first got it, it felt good, but we've come so far in the improvements of Grok and LLMs in general since then, which is crazy because it hasn't really been that long, that now it's just painful to even talk to it. Because I talk to it on my phone nonstop to Grok, and I get into the car and it's like such a dumb version. I'm constantly correcting it, saying, hey, but you forgot about this. Hey, you forgot about this. Like, oh yeah, good point. I apologize. I'll aim to not make more mistakes. Like, come on.
Yeah. No, I think there's something there too. I know, but this is it. And so the 3 things that I think that was concerned by people, and I laugh. Not laugh, but it's just interesting. Well, at that time, many of them said, "Never in my lifetime." Yeah. Here we are, a year later, or 2 years, or 3 years later, and here it is. It's happening in our lifetime.
It's happening. Yeah, and you brought this up earlier. Like, was I being sarcastic? I really wasn't being sarcastic about the 6 to 8 cities. I won't be surprised if they announce some new cities this year, in the next few weeks or in the first couple weeks of 2026. I won't be surprised at all. But they did talk about another model Elon did during that conversation or interview, whatever he was having.
Yeah, January, February, a larger model.
Yeah. So they may be waiting for that before they go to new cities. But either way, that's 60 days away. Like, I'm excited for these new drops, these new cities, and mainly selfishly because I think one of them is going to be where I live. So
yeah, that's good. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate everybody. See
appreciate
you
it.
all. Stay online for
Happy
Brian.
holidays.